Hello, Mario. Okay, so found a little bit of time to do this for you. I forgot that the coaching session this morning was returning students, so it wasn't a 2-hour session, so that freed up a little bit of time that I didn't realize I was going to have. So the way I do, I don't know if we've done a race review with you before, I can't remember. The way I do this, I do them on site, so I don't look through it first. I just go through it with you, comment on what I'm seeing as I'm seeing it. Obviously, you've already put in here that you had a podium finish and that you were, I can see that you were starting P3. So obviously it's a good race. I'm guessing that means there's not a lot in the way of mistakes. There's not a lot in the way of errors in race management to talk about because you pulled off a strong result with a strong starting position. So there may not be that much to comment on. In that sense, sending me races where it went wrong is often better because we can work on what happened. But I know at the same time it's nice to share a good result, feel good about that. So I'll comment on what went right as well, not just what went wrong, because I understand that gives you motivation, doesn't it? By the way, I'm curious to know what the qualifying time of the leader was, because you have a very low 14.8, don't you? So would you have been on pole on your main? Although I understand not wanting to race on your main right now with what you're having wheel issues, but yeah, just a thought. Right, you did a better turn one than these guys. They both missed the apex. This is already good to see. This is knowing where to brake the first time through at the start is something that even at my level I can still have problems with sometimes, and it's worth practicing. So these guys don't ever give it any consideration, and that's why they both completely. This guy's going really deep. This guy's over slowing, and you're the only one that nails the apex. So yeah, really good. You could have gotten on the throttle earlier. I know you're probably holding off getting on the throttle because you didn't want to hit this guy. That's what it looks like. At my level, you learn to do it anyway, but still pull out and overtake him. Okay, which you do. Which you do. Right, yeah, so really nice start. Really nice start. So that's interesting. You made a position through just being a better driver. Simple as that. These guys have set qualifying times comparable with you, but you made a position just purely because you didn't make a mistake in turn one, and these guys did. It's a really strong start. Again, a better hairpin than hairpin, a better chicane than both of these guys. You didn't slow it down as much as the guy in front, and you kept a tighter line. And the guy behind. Guy behind was lucky to keep it on track. Yeah, okay, so that's his race over. So I am going to skip through it. I'm going to use the 10-second function to skip through it quite a bit, but I'm just going to watch the first couple of laps because I just want to see what your driving inputs and racing lines look like. It's good. It's very good. A couple of little things I could pass comment on. Let's just watch for a couple of laps. really nice and patient. Do you see how he's leaning on the tyres more than you are? His car is literally... Look how his car's leaning onto those left-hand tyres, and look how yours is... Yeah, it is, but not as much. He's burning his front tyres more than you here by doing this. He's understeering. You're just using the full width of the track to get rotation and be patient. He's overdriving and forcing more heat into that front tyre, more steering input into that front tyre. In fact, if we go on board, look at your steering input. Okay, it's about the same, but surely he's going to have to right hand down quite a bit. So he's all right. He's not right hand down to get to the curb. He's still off the curb. So, okay, he's trying to look after the front tyres, but then what's going to happen is he's going to have to hold that steering in on the exit, whereas you can let it go. Okay, he gets away with it, but he definitely burnt the tyres more than you did, for sure. Now, if this was a medium tyre race, that would affect him big time, because your line looks after the tyres much better. So you're a little bit too early on the throttle in this corner. Your track limits is every possible millimetre. So great. Your braking is also absolutely great. So I picked up on this on the last corner too. Sorry, the last lap. The braking is great. You could brake a tiny bit later, but that's you just not being sure what you're doing. That's not right. That's not what we're trying to say here. That's you getting used to driving so close to another car in front. So I'm okay with that. It's not a big problem. But you're on the throttle here. Just let it coast a little bit. This is where I said you could brake a little bit later, because you can see that you're trying to rotate into the corner too much. You're trying to get on the grass. It's not a qualifying time trial issue, because you've done a 14.8. It's just getting used to being in the slipstream and adapting your braking point for the slipstream. But yeah, you're getting on the throttle too early. We shouldn't be on the throttle here. We should just be coasting in. And then because you get on the throttle so aggressively too early, you then have to lift. And we should be full throttle here. Whereas you're lifting and we should be full throttle. And that's because you got on the throttle too early. And what this would do if you'd nailed the corner, you're going to be... Now, admittedly, this poses another problem because it means you're closer to him, but you end up here. But in a way, this is good, because what I know your visibility is rubbish, but what this does is it puts a ton of pressure on him because he can see that you're faster. Really good corner. That's nice. So you're stabilizing the car with the throttle. That's really nice. So popping out to have a look at your braking point. That's great. Coming back in. Braking early to create a bit of a gap so that you don't hit him. But then because you braked early, you've got to brake really gently. This is good. You're learning to adapt to what's happening in a race rather than just time trialing. Nice little bit of extra rotation just right at the end there. You've got to let this brake go in order to get the car to rotate a bit more, because at the moment you're pointing like this. You've got to get a bit more rotation and you do it just fine. Yeah, so a nice little trail brake there to get a bit more rotation. You can always tell when you've nailed the chicane properly because the car takes off, which you have almost done there. Wheels are just about coming off the ground. A little bit of throttle just to stabilise the car. It's very good. Very good. They're nice and patient. Yeah, good. Good. It's an art form learning to drive this close to another driver, isn't it? But this is a really good sign. Really good sign. So a little bit of over rotation on the grass there. You're being really conscious to get to the inside and be patient. Just end up being a bit too patient and it over rotates. This is about the speed of a car being the rotation, the ability of a car to rotate on its own axis being directly proportional to its speed. The faster it's going, the less it can rotate, vice versa. You scrub off a bit too much speed and the car rotates a little bit too much. So you correct it, you adjust for it, it's fine, it's no problem. You get away with it, but it's just something to be mindful of. The chosen line, vision, steering inputs aren't a problem here. It's just scrubbed off a little bit too much speed and consequently the car rotated faster. Yeah, nice. So you give it a little bit of throttle again, just to keep yourself in the slit. The braking's much better this time. The way you brake into the corner. So you're still on the brake. Last time you'd let the brake go and you were on the throttle at this point. So the braking's much better. Can you see what's happening with your throttle here, though? There is definitely an element of impatience to get on the throttle in your driving. You're only dragging maybe 5% throttle, but it's enough. 5% throttle is still going to reduce how well the car rotates, still going to reduce some understeer, it's still going to make you have to wait even longer before you can get to 100%. It usually comes from being impatient, too eager to get going, to accelerate. So you drag the throttle in the braking zone. Just get off that throttle, wait for the right moment to get on the throttle. Just be a little bit more patient. It's not a lot of time. It's going to take you hundredths of a second, but hundredths of a second on every corner, it all adds up. On the whole, though, much better patience, much better throttle application there. Nice. So what I would say about your driving, having watched it for a couple of laps, is very good. It's very good. You are definitely getting to that sort of low A+ pace here. What you need to do to extract a little bit more pace is start tweaking the details. So, for example, the entry to this corner is great. This is very good. If this was me, I'm already off the brake. Not by a lot, but right around here is a good brake release point. Assuming you've got the braking point and the line correct. Letting the brake go from anywhere from the start of that curb to where you are would be ideal. And because this is such a long power zone here, this really makes a difference to your split. So ideally you want to let the brake go here and then just coast to here and then accelerate before the corner. And if you do that, you're going to be here, wider, which is happening because you accelerated earlier, so it pushes you out wider because you're going faster. So the technique's great. It's just a little bit too conservative, and you've got to start pushing those limits just a little bit. So the thought process should be something like, okay, I've got the whole car on the curb, but we can legally use more track than that. As long as those two wheels are on the curb, you're fine. That's all. I mean, even part of the wheel is in touch with the curb, you're not going to get a penalty. So there's, in that sense, almost a whole car width here to be used. So the way you've done this corner is very consistent. You do it pretty much the same way every lap so far. So what if you want to step up, push the envelope, push the skill envelope, push your comfort level that little bit further, which ultimately translates to more race pace, which ultimately translates to more results and higher DR, solidifying that A plus that you've achieved. You've got to start tweaking what you're doing to just get off the brake a bit early in this corner. Okay, get off the brake a bit earlier, coast a little bit earlier, accelerate a little bit earlier. If you were on the throttle here, then you're going to run wider on the exit and gain time on the guy in front of you. But you don't get on the throttle until a little bit later. And we're also not full throttle. That's the difference as well. I would be almost full throttle about right here, full throttle, like in line with this yellow curb here. Yellow, red, yellow. Right here, you can go full throttle. Even the red one, full throttle, whereas you're still 50%. So these are tiny little tweaks you've got to do. And the only way you can find that, whether you're doing it, is to either follow a ghost and see if you stay closer to the ghost. Oh, okay, I felt that. I got off the brake a bit earlier. I coasted a bit more. I got more aggressive on the throttle and it kept me closer to the ghost. Or telemetry, or comparing your replays. So one or the other. You've got to start. You can drive. You can drive the car well. You can drive the car fast. You've got good car and a physics sympathy. And you have what I think is still a solid top 100 time. But we've got to start pushing that envelope a little bit to try and get you to go further. So now that I see what you're doing with the driving, I'm mindful that we have been going for 17 minutes, so I'll try to keep this to half an hour. So now I'm going to start skipping through a little bit more to see what happens. So it looks like, unless I've missed it through skipping through, it looks like you don't normally manage to bump draft this guy on the big long uphill climb. Let me know if that's correct. I'll keep looking for it. But that would be an indication that we need to generate a little bit more speed from you, because if two drivers are evenly matched, then you should, with how strong the slipstream is, be close enough to bump draft him. On the other hand, if you're faster than him, then you can keep bump drafting him 2 or 3 times on the straight to really break away from these guys behind. And then towards the end of the race, you know you're faster, so just overtake in the last lap. So you did give him a bump there. I'm sure there's been some other bumps, but usually the bump drafts should start happening earlier. If you're fast enough, we should be bumping by about now. And it's also possible to bump draft down this straight as well, if you're fast enough. That is fast enough to the guy in front. Yeah, again, you can let the brake go now. The car's good. The car's lined up for the apex. The speed is good. You can let it go. But you just stay on it a little bit too long. It overslows a bit too much. It over-rotates a bit too much. The fact that it's climbing up on this curb here is because you stayed on the brake too long. It overslowed the car, reduced the speed of the car, which made it rotate more. Yeah, just let it go. Okay, so you made a few mistakes. I understand. So a few mistakes. These are exactly the mistakes I'm talking about. So if we go back here, let's see what happens. So you're still in touch at this moment. Yeah, a little bit too patient there. The steering would have gone a little bit light. I'll talk about that at the end, actually. There's something I haven't taught you yet. I imagine what's happening here is you can see that he's pulling away from you. You've made a few mistakes, so you get this psychological pressure to catch up. Going on the grass again. So you're rotating in, you're going on the grass again. This is another mistake. And what this means is you can't get on the throttle because you know, you don't need me to tell you this, you felt this in the moment, that if you get on the throttle aggressively here, the car's going to spin. So you have to wait to let the car come off the grass first and then get on the throttle. Again, losing quite a bit of time. And now the left tyres were a little bit dirty. I don't think you accounted for that. That caused you understeer there. You missed the apex, nearly hit the wall. We've got that same problem in turn one again. Yeah, we should be on the throttle and rotating in too much. You can actually brake a bit later, and it's your line as well. So you're actually turning in a little bit too late. So you want to be angled in like this already, and this means you have less steering input and able to stay on the brake. Then go down to 50% brake here, and then release the brake at the start of the curb, let it coast, add more steering, and go aggressive on the throttle. You turn in too late, too wide. You have to stay on the brake because our car's understeering. You breach the friction circle. It's exactly what I talked about in my latest video, turning in too late. You breach the friction circle. It slows the car down too much because it starts understeering. Then when you do get off the brake, it suddenly over-rotates. So you can see the car is, first it's understeering because you're on the brake too late, turning in too late. And then, sorry, on the brake too hard, turning in too late, so it's understeering. Then you let the brake go and it over-rotates. This is what people of my level and upwards are doing deliberately, adjusting what we do with our braking and steering inputs to either deliberately create that understeer or to get more rotation. So the scenario where we create understeer is if the car happens to be very tail happy, then we're going to deliberately brake in such a way to stabilize the back end on the brakes. and then what you've done here where you've let the brake go and the car's rotated in like this, you get away with it, but this loses time is the main point. And the reason it does that is because you slowed the car down too much, you have to aggressively let the brake go, and with that the car suddenly rotates. There we go, another mistake there. Just subtle errors. Going on the grass again. Letting him go. Okay. Did you know he had a penalty? Let me just first check, because I see you indicating and pulling out, so it looks like you're about to let him go. You're trying to give him the racing line and he bumped past you. I'm all for this letting faster drivers go, as you know, but not like this. The way to let someone go is just don't defend. That's all you need to do. Just don't defend. Don't actually deliberately move over out the way. Don't go off of your racing line to let someone pass. If they're faster than you, just don't defend when they go for a move. And also, did you know he had a penalty? Trying to let someone go that's got a penalty, that's wasting a lot of time. Okay, so we're catching up a little bit. Where did that guy come from? This guy's... Oh, okay. 15-2, 15-4, 15-3, 15-7, 15-8, 16s. This guy started from the back, didn't he? Lap 11. Yes, there we go. He started from the back. Okay, so this is a faster driver. This is someone you should be considering to let go, not that other guy. Don't defend against the other guy by all means, but this is the guy that... Yeah, this is the guy that you really need to think about letting go, because he is faster. And I'm starting to see how you ended up third place despite having a convincing shot at winning, because there was a much faster driver starting from the back. Do you know you've still got your indicator on? It's a good thing to do, to use indicators to indicate what you want to do to other drivers, like letting them go or something, but do make sure to turn that indicator off, because otherwise someone might think you're trying to let them go when you're not. Okay. Interesting decision from this guy. See if that pays up. So we caught up again. It looks like he's telling you that he's going into the pits. It looks like he's indicating to say I'm pitting. That's the right decision to go with him. Keep the slipstream. Yeah, that shouldn't work. What he just did, that shouldn't work, but it works because he's simply faster. The fact that he was able to lap on his own faster than you guys were together with no slipstream. Yeah, but he's just faster. So I just want to talk about this for a second. Remembering what I spoke about in my previous video about, sorry, latest video about what you do with the brake affecting the rotation. Oh no, it's not the brake. It's just turning in too late. Yeah, it's just turning. I mean, you are on the brake. That is causing understeer. You should have let the brake go a long time ago. But yeah, it's that turning point again. And it's not that you can't do this. It's just it's got to be refined to be a little bit more consistent. And that's why he's catching up. So let's try and find out where did that go wrong then. So you braked early to create a gap. Let it go. That's the problem. Yeah. So what's happening? You've braked nice and early to create a gap because you were right on his exhaust pipes. You've got to brake a bit earlier. That's good. This is racecraft. This just comes with experience. As a result of that, you've overslowed the car going into the corner. Again, that happens when you have to brake early. That's not unusual. You're basically figuring out how to brake in this corner every single time you come round to it because you're braking in a different place every time you come round to it. This is where you need to learn to feel what the car is doing. I'm going to explain to you how to do that in a minute because I don't think I've told you that. You just got to let this brake go. You got to let this brake go and you'll be okay. You'll get a good exit. But again, you stay on the brake. You're feeling understeer, so you're staying on the brake to try and correct that. Actually, the right thing is to let the brake go and the car will rotate. And because of that, you don't get on the throttle until well into the exit. He's already on the throttle. He's already on the throttle. Too early, to be fair, but still. And you're not. There we go. You're finally on the throttle. Still haven't actually got off the brake. There we go. Oh no, that was a gear shift. I apologize. Now you're on the throttle. It's a very slow exit. And this guy catches you up. This is just going to come with race experience. But I know why you're not racing much at the moment with your wheel. Okay, good. So you let him go. Better line. I mean, if that's mediums and he drives like that, he's killed his tyres in a medium race. And you'll have just beaten him purely on tyre wear. So how do you get third place then? Oh, P2 got a penalty. No? No, P3 hits the wall. Right. Nice. Yep. He succumbed to the pressure, overdriving, trying to turn the wheel too much, exceeded the friction circle. Good. Good recovery. Right. So, in summary, with more race experience, you'll get a little bit more used to what you're doing with your inputs while you're racing, a bit closer to mimicking what you're doing in time trial. So no, there's no way you were doing turn one that way, and these other turns were also a lot better when you did that 14.8 lap. So that is your potential. This is mostly just about learning to carry that time trial pace into the race, which will come from just racing more. With that said, there's something I want to teach you. In a sense, I apologize because I didn't teach this when you first came to me for your coaching session. So I've now started teaching this, and let me explain what I'm talking about. What corner do I want to use for this? So I'm actually going to go into Spa for this. I'm going to use one of the fastest laps. No, you're on Fanatec. So what you can do here, what you can feel here with Fanatec is very good. Right. You ever heard drivers talking about, fast drivers talking about steering the car with their feet, learning to manipulate the rotation of the car with their feet? And like I said, this is technically there's not anything new here. Technically what I'm teaching you isn't new. It's just a different way of explaining it that I suddenly happened upon. I thought, oh, that's a good way of explaining it. And I've kept it in the coaching session ever since. And that was only about a month ago. So I want to bring you up to speed. The most important force feedback protocol in your Fanatec wheel, it does a lot of things. It gives you a lot of communication. But the most important one is the steering wheel getting heavier, which every wheel will give you, right? The steering wheel gets heavier when you turn into the corner. At the moment, your steering is not giving you any resistance. You'll be feeling bumps, curbs, vibrations, that kind of thing, but your steering is not giving you any resistance because you're driving in a straight line. When you turn into the corner, your steering starts to get heavy. It starts to increase in weight. And what you'll be feeling at the moment is something along the lines of your steering gets heavier as you get deeper into the corner. You may not be feeling this on a conscious level yet. We need to make it conscious, make it something you focus on, train some new habits, and then it can move back into the second nature subconscious side of things. So the steering gets heavier when you turn in, and then you're probably feeling it get somewhere at its heaviest around the middle of the corner. And then as you exit, the steering gets lighter, and lighter until you're pointing in a straight line when the steering is now neutral again. Again, this may be something where you're going, yeah, okay, never really thought about it like that, but I suppose that's what I'm feeling. That's what I mean about it's in the subconscious side. We need to make it conscious. So let me talk about what you're trying to do here. What you need to do is keep the steering feeling as heavy as possible, as long as possible, all the way round the corner, not gradually getting lighter, not gradually getting heavier and not gradually getting lighter. Keep it feeling heavy for as long as possible, for as much of the corner as possible. From the moment you turn in to when you exit, it's still heavy, it's still heavy, it's still heavy, and then suddenly goes light as you straighten up. And the key to doing that isn't what you do with the steering wheel as much as it is what you do with your feet. So if you think back to the friction circle that I taught you in the first lesson, front tires have got a maximum amount of grip. You can use it for braking and turning, and whatever percentage of grip you're using for one, you can use the remaining percentage for the other one, and it must always add up to 100%. So 25% on the brake, 75% steering, 50% on the brake, 50% steering, 75% on the brake, 25% steering, so on and so forth. It always adds up to 100%. The way you feel that is the weight of the steering. So you don't think about it mathematically where you're driving, which you're not. I know that. When the steering gets heavier, that's what you're feeling. The heavier the steering gets, the closer you are to that limit of grip, that friction circle limit. And when you go over it, the steering will go light. So this is where you need to control the weight of that steering with your feet. And this becomes literally steering the car with your feet. It's the same principle as what I've already mentioned. When a car is the ability of a car to rotate is directly proportional to the speed that the car is moving. The faster it's moving, the less effect your steering has. Slow the car down, that same steering input, suddenly the car turns more. So what you're looking to do is control the speed of the car with your feet in order to keep the steering heavy. By way of further explanation, this guy's at 40% on the brake. Okay. Oh, it's Gr4. It's Gr4. He's at 40% on the brake. Let's say you've taken the same braking point with the same entry speed, the same steering input and line, everything's identical, but you're 100% on the brake. What's going to happen is you're not going to be here with him. You're going to be back here because you slowed the car down too much. And consequently, the steering is suddenly going to go light because you've slowed the car down too much. The inverse is also true. So let's stop him when he's at a higher brake pressure. So now he's at 75. Let's say you're at 50%. So now you're under braking. You're not braking enough. In the one scenario, you're braking too much. The car slows down. The steering goes light. Let's look at the reverse of that. You don't brake enough. You come into the corner too fast with not enough brake pressure. Now, instead of being behind him or with him, now you're in front of him because you're not slowing the car down enough. The steering will remain nice and heavy to begin with because you're going into the corner with a lot of speed. But then you're going to have to stay on the brake for an age, for eons, to slow it down with massive understeer. And right at that moment when you finally slow the car down, the steering will go light. So over braking and under braking, one way or another, results in the steering going light. What you need to do, and this is where having the right force feedback levels helps for you, the right force feedback levels for you, is adjust what you do with the brake so that the steering stays heavy. And then in time, you learn to adjust and coordinate that with the steering. So you can do things like you feel the steering is starting to go just a tiny bit light. So you back off the brake a little bit more and add just a little bit more steering to get the car back onto that limit. And these are the subtle nuances that top drivers are aware of, feeling in the moment and doing in the moment to keep the car near that limit. At the moment, you are driving technically very, very well, but this last little thing is something worth practicing and taking on board. And it's something that only high A, low A plus drivers can really begin to entertain doing. So a C rank driver telling him to do this is a bit too much for him. What I would suggest you do some time trial sessions or go and race on your alt account where you don't care about DI. Do a bit of both, right? Where you deliberately try to drive with this in mind. Your objective is not to get a podium. If it happens, great. Okay. And in time trial, it's not to push for a faster lap. It's very much like the vision training drill that I gave you, where you just focus on learning to do this one thing. So go on track, focus on having your vision one step ahead of what you're doing, breakpoint, apex, exit, like I told you. Don't push flat out. Just try to drive in such a way that you keep that steering feeling heavy for as long as possible. And you'll notice that you have to change what you're doing with your braking points and your brake pressure in order to achieve that, and with your coast point in order to achieve that. And when you begin to feel your ability to manipulate the weight of that steering with your feet, then you're going to get a lot faster. And it also works when you get onto the throttle, because when you let the brake go, there we go. So when you let the brake go and you do that coast, add more steering, rotate moment, the steering should feel nice and heavy, which will give you the confidence to add more steering. And then what you're looking to do is to get on the throttle, which he's done there, before the steering goes light. And this is what Fanatec wheels are second to none, the best in console racing for doing, because they give you so much detail. The higher your force feedback levels, the easier it is to feel this, because the more difference you've got between how heavy the wheel gets and how light the wheel gets and the spectrum in between. The less force feedback you're running, the harder it is to feel this. The counter to that is that the more force feedback you're running, the more you will tense up, over grip, and fight the steering wheel. You don't want to be doing that either. So you've got to find that sweet spot. And then when you can feel that sweet spot, you start to feel, when you're in that sweet spot, you can start to feel this and manipulate it. And so the same thing again, you do your coast moment and you should be getting onto the throttle just before the steering starts to go light. And again, you're manipulating the weight of that steering, the limit of grip, now with the throttle rather than with the brake. So you're steering the car with your feet, literally. Now, I'm pretty sure I hadn't introduced training people or teaching people that way to do it when we last did a coaching session together. So thought I'd take this opportunity to give you that, because you're at a level where knowing that, feeling it, and learning to manipulate it is actually key to your improvement. So hopefully you find that helpful. Let me know if you like that way of explaining it on Discord. How long have we gone here? 45 minutes. So gave you a little bit of coaching help and reviewed your race. I'll do you an invoice for $30 if that's okay with you. That's just pro rata for the 45 minutes. Overall, very good racing, very good result, strong sign of potential there. I think a strong track like Watkins Glen for you, it's a strong track for a lot of people. Um, Even the full course and any other tracks that are strong tracks, I can see you getting consistent podiums and wins in the very near future if you keep up doing what you're doing, and that will result in A plus on your alt account. And once you've done that, then you're in that beautiful situation that I spoke about where you've got A plus on both accounts, and now you've got to go and race as an A plus driver regardless. So yeah, good progress, mate. Good progress. Very happy with what you're doing. Any questions, let me know.